you don't mind, take one, pass it down. We have only a few. There's some information for you to look at and take home with you. And then at the end, we'll give you a couple of stickers and pencils and things for you to use. So these are all my rock stars?
These are
Okay.
rock stars for now.
Ready to go. First period, man.
Good morning, first period.
Yeah.
My name is Miguel Fuentes. I am a carpenter. That is Dave Silve. He is also a carpenter. And before I get into all of the stuff that we do as carpenters, I'll ask you a few questions. But we started as carpenters, but now I'm the business representative for the Northern States Regional Council of Carpenters. That's a mouthful. Basically, the Carpenters Union in the state of Connecticut, and he's our training coordinator. We come up through the field, learning our trade, and then we ended up in these positions trying to help people understand how they can do the same thing. Anyone in the room have any knowledge, experience, awareness with the carpentry trade at all? You. Okay, so what do you think carpenters do? Any ideas? So,
anyone's dad or one of your parents a carpenter? Dad's a carpenter? What type of work does he do? Okay. So he's building houses?
yeah, that's one of the things we do. But we do a lot of things. We build piers, right? Where you see the ships dock and the boats dock. We build schools, hospitals, churches, Amazon fulfillment centers. We build nuclear power plants, all sorts of stuff. So in the carpentry trade, 60% of the work that happens in any building construction is something that we do, right? So if you like doing concrete, building highways, if you like building houses, if you like doing retail work, you have the opportunity to learn the craft and do any one of those things. So how does someone become a carpenter if you know nothing about it and you're interested? It's kind of simple when you know. Typically, you either know somebody, a parent, a friend, a relative, someone who introduces you to the trade, or you come to a school like this and they say, hey, look, here's some of the things that we do. You may be interested in this sort of stuff because you're good with your hands, you like the math, and you really want to be engaged and hands-on. You get some basic skills, and then we work together with organizations like your school to give you the other stuff to get you to the level where you're a professional. When you're an apprentice with the Carpenters Union and his program and our organization, here's how it starts. You come in, we assume you know nothing, right? We treat you like you're brand new, and we're going to mold you and give you some fresh information to get you started. You start at around $16 an hour, and then you go to school. You go to school 1 week every 3 months. The majority of what you learn happens on the job site. So, you're making a living, you're earning some money, and you go to class 1 week every 3 months to get the theory, right? Why you did that, how you do that, how it looks, and then you apply it on the job site. That happens over a 4-year period of time. Now, it can happen in less than a 4-year period of time if you have experience. So young men and women who go to a school like this that we work with and we help develop you while you're in school will get a year's credit. So now you're going to be at your 2nd year, which means only 3 years of apprenticeship, and you automatically get a raise to the next level with all of the benefits. So you're accelerating your career. Now, every year that you're in the program, you get a raise. A full journeyman carpenter right now, today, is making $36.07 an hour plus $30 in benefits. It's a lot of money. A journeyman carpenter right now in the state of Connecticut, minimum, working most of the year, is making 6 figures, $100,000 a year. It's good money. You don't only have to be a carpenter. If you are interested in moving up, there's plenty of room for it, right? Because in our industry right now, in our local, we have 4,000 people right now that we represent. 600 of those people today can retire, full benefits, walk away from the industry. So we need 1,200 people to fill that, right? People coming up and folks just to fill the immediate jobs that we have, not to mention so much stuff that's going on right now. So in terms of employability and opportunities and the ability to make a living, yeah, it's a good time to be a part of the organization if this is something that you're interested in, right?
And one of the things that's interesting to me is those 600 guys and, you know, men and women that are ready to retire, a lot of them have been getting by on the way we always did things, okay? But the nature of the trade, when you go out on the job site, when you go home at the end of the day, when you wake up in the morning, the field that you knew yesterday is it's different. It's gonna change day to day, okay? The guys, 600 guys that could leave today, they're used to snapping lines on the ground for laying out walls. We have companies that are using 3D printers and printing lines on the ground. All right, everything, the technology, level of technology in our business, because there is so much money on the line, it's becoming more and more advanced. So we need the skills that all of you have. Believe it or not, even if you've never held a hammer before, you're probably a little bit more employable down the line than some of the guys that are leaving with 30 years of experience. So I just want to point that out to you guys. It's the reality.
Because you know how to use the technology that we're now using in the industry, which is
Right.
something him and I didn't have to do when we were there. I mean, there was a time where we frowned on people using tablets and phones on the job sites, right? Not anymore. If there's a question and you can look at the solution and figure out online, okay, this is where this goes or how this works, we encourage you to do that. Because we want you to use your heads as much as you use your hands.
That's correct.
If there's something has to look a certain way and it's hard to envision it in your head and you want to see what the finished product looks like, we give tablets, right? A lot of the jobs, you look at the tablet, you see the details of that, step by step, how it goes together. So you can be independent, not feel so embarrassed that you don't know, have to ask someone, and you can really be hands-on and be a self-starter and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out and then put it together. What we give you is the basic skills for you to understand how it should work, and then you have to be creative and put your skills and experience and the things that you learn to task, which means problem solve, right? You have to problem solve on the job site. You're not always going to have someone with you to help you, so it's good for you to be able to do that on your own, but you have the support when you need it, right? So it's a very different industry, and it's a very professional industry because people are understanding the value of what someone in the craft, the carpenters, bring, right? Somebody's got to build it if you're going to live in it. Somebody's going to build it if you're going to go to the hospital. Somebody's got to put it together and understand how it works in order that they have to fix it if something goes wrong, or they have to do a repair. So you're really a very important part of society and how we function.
So really interesting point that I just want to add on to that. Does anyone want to take a guess at how old our organization is?
How long has the
Throw out a
carpenters
number.
been around? Throw any number. Wild guess.
What was it? More than double. Our organization is 140 years old this year.
Yeah.
I have a 100-year-old picture hanging in my office of the city of Stamford. Okay, and I take a vested interest in Stamford because that's where my original local is from, 1897. There's one building in the picture. Everybody here lives in Stamford, right? Right, Stamford High School. Okay, we built this city, literally. I know some people like to use that as a catchphrase. Oh, we built this city. You know, I think it's a song, right, from the '80s. You guys don't know that, but yeah, but he's old.
Yep.
But well, I'm getting there. We actually did. All right, and in 100 years from now, the city's going to look very, very different from what it does today. That I can guarantee you. We just want you guys to be a part of that.
And you know the sense of pride that you get? Because I have 2 kids who are now journeymen, right? They were apprentices. So they're the 3rd generation. We call it the family business. Every time we get together, we talk about the jobs we're on, what we're doing, right? Before those kids were apprentices or even carpenters, I would take them all over the city. Dad built that, I helped build that, we did that. You take a sense of pride in being a part of something that's gonna last even long after we're gone, right? You're leaving something behind. And I'll tell you, as a second generation carpenter, with two young men who just graduated, my youngest just graduated, I don't know, a month ago?
Yeah.
2 months ago?
Yep.
From his apprenticeship, right? Worked with his tools the whole time, and he put a resume together, and he decided, I wanna do something different in the trade, right? I wanna move up, I don't wanna use the tools anymore. He said, okay. And he sent it out to a bunch of general contractors, and they were looking at him for a project management position, right? Moving up. His boss says, somebody called me, says that you got a resume, and, they called me out because they, out of respect, they wanted to let me know that they were considering one of my employees. And my son said, yeah, that's right. He goes, you don't have to go anywhere. Here's your office, here's your computer. I'm gonna train you to be an estimator, I don't want you to go. The point in that, there really is an opportunity for upward mobility. You can make a career out of this, and this isn't a job. This is really a way for you to learn the craft, apply it in a way where you can make a living, and build for your future. Now, they say everybody has to go to college. I've heard this for the last 30 years, maybe 25 years anyways. Maybe yes, maybe no. College is a great thing for people who college works for. Back to my kid. I like to tell a story because, my kid, as personal experience. My kid, I had to beg, borrow, steal to get him to graduate high school. Hated school, he's a lot like me. Hated school, didn't want to be in school, didn't understand the purpose. He thought it was dumb. I thought it was dumb. How do I make money? How do I apply this every day? Okay, so this kid, listen, we're gonna try the apprenticeship route if that's what you want to do. Dad, I want to do what you do. He doesn't. He's doing great. He graduates high school, he's making a living, and then I'm watching TV Sunday morning, one of the shows, and he says, Dad, I want to go to college. Right? Get out of here, there he is. Stop playing. He goes, no, I want to go to college then. I says, you hate school. He goes, no, Dad, I want to be a project manager. I says, all right, what do you got? He shows me what he wants to do. I put the computer aside. I said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to give you a couple of months, a few semesters. I'll give you a couple of dollars to pay for it. See if you're serious. The kid was serious, right? Lucky for him, he had the apprenticeship program that he went through, and if you look on that graph, it shows you that he already was ahead of the game for school because he had 20 credits that he could apply to that degree, moved his trajectory to college quickly, and here's what happened. It finally connected. This is why I am in school, because I'm making this much money. But if I take this class, I can make that much more money. And now he was really interested. This kid had a 4.0 grade average. He was a C average at best because he was not interested in school. So if you're one of those men or women who are looking at your future beyond school and thinking, how does this apply to me? How am I going to make a living? How am I going to build the kind of life that I want for myself? This is a very real option for you. But you can literally plan your own future using all the tools that you have and the opportunities that exist with the organization, with the union, with the apprenticeship, with your school. And you can start here talking about those sorts of things as you're going through your pre-apprenticeship, which is what we're going to do here with your school, give you some of the skills that you're going to run into on that job site, right, that you're going to need to do the work. And while you're in school, you'll be able to have access to one of those projects through what we call work-based learning, right? So you're learning the craft while you're in school, and you're going to work for one of those contractors a couple of weeks, during the summer or during the year. A couple of things happen. Hands-on experience, exposure, you get to meet the people that you'll be working with, once you finish your program, and you'll be putting some money in your pocket in the process. No debt, making money, you're figuring out what your career path is going to be, you have the opportunity to put your hands on it and decide if that's really what you want to do, and that's unique because that's not something that happens anywhere in the country right now. But that's something we're going to be doing with you. So pre-apprenticeship, basic skills, plumb, level, and square, those are the kind of rules that you need to know to build something, right? You gotta go like this, plumb, level, and square, right? You need that because everything goes vertical from there. How to use the tools, some of the math that I used to scratch my head and say to myself, why am I even learning this? Calculus, what's this? Who cares? How do I put 10, 15, 20, 100 bucks in my pocket? That's what I want to know. Math, right? We give you the math that correlates, that relates, that you apply to your craft so you know how it all works together. And then when you leave here and you come into our apprenticeship program, you got a year advanced, you get an instant raise, you're on your way. You're putting some serious money in your pocket. Questions? All right, so beyond the paycheck, right? I know we're all young and we don't really think about retirement, pension, healthcare. But I tell you, as you progress in life and have a family, the older you get, your priorities change. You start thinking about that. While you're in the apprenticeship, before that's even a thought, you're already building for that future. You get health care for you and your family, completely paid for. $15 every time you go to the doctor, that's it.
Is anyone, I just want to interrupt.
Go.
Does anyone know is anyone taking like a financial class in here? Yeah? So, can anyone tell me what the difference is between a pension, a traditional pension plan, and like a 401k? Or what maybe you think the difference might be? So, a 401k, you save money, you put money away on your own out of your paycheck, right? So, whatever number you have in your head, right? If you say, I want to make 80 grand a year, or I want to make 120 grand a year, you have to realize that when you go and work in the private sector, that 120 becomes 100 once you pay for your health care. It becomes 90 once you pay for your 401k and all the other costs that eat into that, right? What you're actually taking home. I can remember, my kids just started working recently. I have one son, he's 18, he's a bonehead. My daughter's a rock star, she's 16. They both work at the hockey shop. And I can remember both of them, when they took home their first paycheck, they said, but I made this. They shorted my paycheck. And I said, no, you just paid taxes for the first time. Right? So there's that too. But going back to the pension versus the 401k, 401k is money that you take out of your end, and maybe, depending on who you're working for, your employer will match it and put it away in an account for you. When that account runs dry, what do you think happens? The checks stop coming. They're not coming anymore, right? One of the things through a union, our organization, we have a traditional pension plan. You work, every year you work, however many hours you work, that goes into your pension plan. You get a credit, right? You retire at the end of your career, 25, 35. We got some guys going on 50 years still working. I don't know how they're doing it, but they are. That never runs dry. A pension is you get paid until you die. And then after you die, your spouse can get paid for a certain amount of time as well. Very, very, very big difference. And the big difference for you in the immediate is that it's paid through your benefits package. So if you're an apprentice making $20 an hour, that $20 is for you to survive on, you, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife when you get married, your husband. That's for you guys to run your family on. The benefits are separate. So there's not as much eating into your pay. I just want to point that out to you.
So that's on top of the money that you're making. And going back to the point I was making earlier is when you're a second-year apprentice, right? That's when you're going to be coming with us once you go through this program. That money is set aside for you before you even realize that it's happening. So you're really building towards and planning for your future as you're working in the field. So you don't have to take it out of your pocket to pay yourself first, as they say, and set it aside. It's set aside for you. Why is that important? That's important because on top of the pension, we have this thing called an annuity, right? Which is a supplemental that's on top of the pension. When I bought my first home, right? I had a couple of things going on. I had the skills that I needed to be able to take this old home that was there since 1949 and nobody really did anything with it in a really nice neighborhood. And I could tear it apart and build it over because I had the skills to do it. Second, to buy the house, you need 20% down payment, right? Big picture stuff is kind of like stuff you're probably not even interested in, but I want you to think about it because when you need to get that money for a down payment and you're working, trying to pay your bills, make sure your car works, make sure you have everything that you need, cable, electricity, all the stuff that you have to do when you're independent, it's really difficult to set that money aside to be able to move to the next level, right? To have your own home. With the annuity, you can go into that fund, take money from that annuity to use for a down payment to buy your home. You're already saving money to build the future that you envision for yourself and you want to have. It's a resource that a lot of people don't have that allowed me to buy a home. And I bought 6 houses after that, right? As my family grew, right? I started with a little house, I had more kids, I needed a bigger house, I needed more kids, I needed a bigger house, I added a dog. Before you know it, I had the ability to do that because I had a little bit of seed planted in that annuity and grew. I could take it out and build my future. And this is really what we're talking about here. This is some of the stuff we do. That's some of the apprentices. That's interesting. Talk about using tools and skills and going to work. That's interesting. It's all important. But what we're offering, what we're trying to explain to you is that in order to build something, you've got to start somewhere. And this is an ability for young men and women who want to do that. And going back to the college thing, because I don't frown on college. That's necessary when you want to move up to the next level. If you're part of our apprenticeship program, and you graduate from that apprenticeship program, you can go to college through us 2 ways. One, this thing that we call Benjamin Franklin Institute, a lot of it online, some of it, you got to show up in the classroom, and you get your degree and you go up to the next level. The other one is with SUNY, which is out of New York City, which is completely free for people who graduate from our program. You can go there, you go to school because we sponsor it, we pay for it.
Yep.
We pay for your education. You go to school, you graduate, you get your degree. But like I said earlier about the pre-apprenticeship program, it pushes you faster down the track because you have credit for what you've done, so you're at the next level. That's also true for college. You get 20 credits or more towards that degree. So now that 2 years becomes a year and a half. So you're getting to the next level quicker and with some money invested in you already, because when we pay for it in some cases, make sure that you get the credit that you deserve for the things that you've done so you can get there quicker, right? So now you went from $100,000 to potentially $140,000, $50,000, $60,000, and you increase your year-end income by 50%. That's significant. That's real money. And that's not something that you can really do that quickly in a very succinct, clear path outside of working with this organization or others like it, right? That's what we offer young men and women who want to have a career. So, a lot of information. There's got to be some questions. There's got to be one question, 2 questions. Any question? Any interest? How many of you think that this is appealing? How many of you can see yourself there? You know? A couple. A lot of men and women in the trade.
And I'm not going to exaggerate. Some of my best apprentices are females. They're outperforming the guys. Acoustical ceilings, door and hardware, very, very intricate work, high-end trim. I don't know why, but the girls they're much more coachable across the board. Their detail work is much better, and we're happy to have them. So there is a spot for you guys.
That's right. And because a lot of what we do in the field, you have to conceptualize, right? You have to think it, see it in your head before it becomes real. We find that women, opposed to men, are more able to envision what that is and take the steps to get it right the first time, where I, like a man, want to push through and maybe not go step by step, and we got to go back and fix something that one of the women got right the first time. That's true for welding too. But that's not to say that there's not room for everybody, right? Anyone who wants to do it, who wants to use their mind and their hands to create something that's going to last a lifetime and build a life for themselves that they can be proud of, we have a place for it.
Miguel, I have a
here
question
is-
in
oh,
regards to the college. The degrees that you were talking about, any degree or are these particular degrees?
It's
And which-
specific
so
to
which
construction. The specific to construction is construction management.
ones? Okay,
So you go from doing the work to managing the work. From building something to making sure that everybody's doing their job so it gets built right. So you move up into the management role, and that's typically what it is. But beyond college, in our organization, we have what we call skills enhancement. So it's not a college degree, but again, you get credit towards college. Estimating, for instance, blueprint reading, for instance. Those are parts of how a construction project happens. So a construction project happens on a piece of paper, right? Pretty much somebody comes up with an idea, they draw something nice, and it kind of looks like what they want it to be, and then somebody actually has to figure out what it's going to cost, how much material you're going to need, what pieces and parts go together to make it work. Those are project managers, estimators, and then the foreman, which is something that we teach also, so you can be frontline leadership. Frontline leadership, right? Those are the people that have to make sure that what somebody put in paper, somebody estimated, somebody envisioned, somebody paid for, actually happens on the job. So that's one of the toughest jobs in the industry, but it gives you the opportunity to put the tools aside for a minute and work with your colleagues and peers who you probably went to school with, right? And grew up in the industry, and be the team leader to make sure that that building happens the way it should. And then that's how you move up. So you go to foreman, you can do an estimator, superintendent, project manager, superintendent. And quite honestly, we have a couple of businesses right here in Stamford and Greenwich who are young men and women who came up through the industry. Network Interiors is one, Hobbs and Cleans, there are two others, that started as apprentices
Yeah.
and owned their own business.
We have one company, Pursuit Interiors,
Ah, yeah,
outside millwork. He opened his company before he graduated his apprenticeship.
Yeah. And had money from his annuity, right, to invest in himself. Decided that he wanted to be his own boss. And now the sky's the limit, right? Now, there's a lot of risk involved, right? You're completely responsible for failing or succeeding. But he had all of the tools to be able to do that because, like you, he understands it from the bottom, worked his way up, and knows how it all works together. And when he was ready to make that decision, he had resources that he can pull, that he built through his apprenticeship, to be able to say, I'm gonna do my own thing. And he's doing really well. So when somebody does that, as an organization, we take a vested interest in them, and this is an aside, but you should know this. Let's say my friend here, David, decides, I wanna be a contractor. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna put a number on this project, I'm gonna bid this job, I wanna dive in and I wanna do it and make some money. And he calls me and says, hey Miguel, I'm looking at this job, it's a lot of money, I don't know if I can float it all, what can you do to help me? We as an organization will invest some of those dollars that we have aside in his business. We'll pay the benefits for our apprentices and our members, so he doesn't have to. And he'll get that job. He'll grow, and those same people that we took money out to pay their benefits, later on help him build his business and put that money back into the pot so we can help the next contractor. So we're really involved in developing opportunities for our membership, particularly our apprentices, because you are the future of the organization, right? And the minute you come in, you're one of ours, and we treat you as such. And we'll guide you through the process, and when you're a contractor, we help you be successful.
So ideally, so they can apply in their sophomore or junior years for the apprenticeship?
You have to apply, right? You have to be 17 years old, right, to apply. And your work-based learning will happen during your senior year, if you're 17 years old, so that's what you do. So that's the opportunity for you, if you want to, decide that this is what you want to do. We'll say, all right, come on in. We'll give you an information session, right? We'll give you some safety stuff, which is called the safety slam. Not stuff that's different from what you'll learn here, but it's really more industry driven, right? Just what's going on out in the field. We'll give you some OSHA. We'll teach you how to keep your fingers and toes, how to be safe, how to use the tools correctly.
We call it don't die.
Yeah. It's the
Listen, the day you guys go out, who's seen Stamford Hospital here? All right, I was a foreman on that project. I stood on the 14th floor, 3 inches from the edge, right, looking right down. That was part of my job every day. And, you know, thankfully, because I went through the apprenticeship, I had the know-how, and even as a first-year apprentice, I knew to keep my head on a swivel because things can happen, right? We're not just going to throw you out on a job site. That's really what my role is at the school, is to guide you guys and be a resource for you, because, you know, you're going to go out to a job site, you're going to go work for Nutmeg Interiors, maybe you're there 3 days, maybe you're there 3 years. Once you get laid off from there, that job's done, maybe they take you to the next job. If they don't, you come back to our organization, right? You're always a member. Come back to the school, or if you journey out, you go to the hall, we send you to another contractor. The union is the hub that kind of holds everything together. So we are with you. You know, we're not just going to take you in as a member and send you out there to the wolves. You are with us for the 4 years of your apprenticeship, and then the next 30.
And so, Jesse?
Yeah, what can you guys walk us through what a typical day at your training center looks like?
All right, perfect.
Okay.
So training for us is 7 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, 4 days a week, okay? 4 days a week only. You come in, it's very important to know, and you're gonna hear me say this throughout your entire career. Do not be late. Never, ever, 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 ever. Why? Because if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. You wanna be there early. If you come to the training center at 7 a.m., walking in the door, and it's 7:01 and the door's closed, you stay outside. Because if you go on a job site, they expect you to be there 15 minutes earlier than you're supposed to start working, and stay 15 minutes later than when the day is done.
I mean, at almost $100 an hour, you know, a minute is more than $1. So that's why it's so time oriented.
So you come in, you're gonna see this young man, he's gonna give you your lesson for that week. You're gonna talk about, here's what we're gonna cover. You might have already done some of that on the job site. We're gonna go over the theory. You may never have seen it before because we do so many different things. It's gonna be new to you, but by the time you leave in the 4 days, you're done. It's an hour. How much is lunch? An hour?
45 minutes.
45-minute lunch, so you can, make your phone calls, talk to people, do what you have to do. And then you leave Friday, Thursday, what time?
Thursday, 4:30 on Thursday.
4:30. Friday, you don't go to school because you can do one of two things. Take Friday to get ready to go to work on Monday. Make sure you have your tools, make sure you have your lunches, make sure you have your clothes. Or you can go right to work with your employer. While you're in school, you can collect unemployment. The unemployment will let you get a check so you're not missing any money. And it's it's 2/3 of what you would have gotten working on the field, but at least you're not getting, you're not without money, right? You're not getting paid, so you can do that. So that happens 1 week every 3 months. Okay. You'll cover any number of subjects, right? And you'll do the hands-on. There's some theory early in the morning, then you go out into the shop, similar to here, and then you go back to the shop at the end of the day. Let's say that's the typical training day. Then you call your employer. You get a letter, by the way, so you know, and an email, and that's it. Weeks before you're scheduled to go to school. Why is that important? One, you can put it in your calendar. Two, you can let the person that you're working for or with, the employer, the contractor, that you have school this week. So they'll send you to school. It's not a surprise for them. We'll send somebody if they need it in your place in the meantime, and they'll probably stay, or they'll come out and go to school. We cycle people out like that, so we have coverage on the job site, and we coordinate with our employers because we want to be sensitive to they got to get their work done, right? So that's that part of the apprenticeship.
So they can do this year?
Yeah, so I wanted to explain to you how can you participate here at Westhill High School in this, because I'm not sure that everyone is aware of it. So one of the prerequisites is that you took woodworking with Mr. Claude, otherwise you cannot go into the second class. If you've already done woodworking, you're eligible to take this next class in semester 2. If you're younger, think about taking woodworking before you would take the second class. The second class is construction and emerging technology that happens starting January this year. And in that class, you will learn the curriculum that is provided by their training center. So we're buying the licenses to their content and their curriculum, and that's why you're getting the credit for the pre-apprenticeship doing this. If you're turning 17 while you're in that semester, and you are able to go up on a workshop Friday to get, I think, the basic trainings that you are requiring beyond the curriculum, you will have the opportunity to take part in their workplace learning program,
Right.
join the union, get drug tested, do all those things, and
That's
then
right.
get placed on a job site while you're in school during the semester or the summer, however that works out for you. And that our school is basically working together with a program from Bridgeport that will fund the tools, the drug testing, and all the costs that occur for you to join the union and be placed on site. So that's really the prerequisite. Woodworking with Mr. Wood, then sign up for this class in semester 2. There's plenty of spots, that's why we're doing these presentations. So we're getting students who really are interested in taking advantage of this opportunity. The guidance counselors know so that you were able to go and change classes in order to get into Mr. Wood's class. And then the opportunity to really be on a work site while you're in school
That's right.
with a credit towards an apprenticeship afterwards, so then you can move towards all the things that we're describing.
And Mr.
Makes
Blas,
sense?
and Mr. Blas said something very, very important, and I'm gonna tell you what that is, right? When somebody comes in with no association with this program, there's a $600 expense just to get started, right? And that's not what we require, that's just what it is. You gotta buy your tools, you gotta pay for your drug testing, you gotta pay for your affiliation, all that. Through this, it doesn't cost you anything, right? That's very important. And when you do your shop Fridays, because we understand that this may be new, before we send you on a work-based learning program, your shop Friday will be similar to what you will find on the job site. So we're really preparing you for what to expect, what to look out for, what you're gonna be doing. So we really want you to succeed, and we're preparing you for that. We're trying to be very thoughtful about that.
Yeah.
So you're ready. When you're on that job site, you're feeling confident. You may not know everything, but you know you've seen it before and you can do it and you put your hands on it. Because the better we prepare you on the front end, the much more successful you're gonna be on the other end. Especially if you apply yourself and really take interest and you wanna do it. Look, this thing is like a refrigerator. I say this all the time. You're gonna get out of this program, out of this organization, this collaboration, what you put in it. If you don't put anything in the fridge and you go to look for something at midnight like me, it's not gonna be anything there. But if you apply yourself, you put something into your personal refrigerator, right? Because you wanna make sure you have something for later, this is a great place to do it. The more you apply yourself, the sky's the limit, and that's true. Not for everyone, only for the people who apply themselves. If you really wanna embrace it and dive in, you can be successful, extremely successful. And I get to see you progress over the years. And it's always fun. And we'll always be there to support you, right? When you go to school with him and you're looking for the next job, he tells me, this one's gonna look for the next job, they're interested in this, I'm gonna put you to work. If I think there's something that you're gonna need for a job that I know is coming, I'll talk to David, say, David, I got a slot for 30 people for this project, let's prepare some of these folks and give them the shop Fridays or the skills enhancement, so they can make all the mistakes in the shop, ask all the questions in the shop. But when I send you to work, you're ready. You're gonna succeed because we help you prepare. And the investment really for you is your time and your attention. And the more time and attention you put into it, on the other end, the easier things are and the better off you'll be.
Let me ask you a question before we open it for, and I want questions from you guys. I gave you 2 opportunities, I got 0. So think about them now. But who is working right now? All right, where do you work?
I do
Landscaping. Where do you work? With kids, okay? And there's someone over here that's working?
You're working?
You're working. Where do you work? Law office.
All right.
All right. How, if you don't mind me asking, what are you getting paid? 14. All right. 16, 17. 16, 17. What's your plan to get to 20?
Yeah.
See? So can any of you 3 imagine approaching your boss, or have you approached your boss and asked for a raise? Why not? Okay? Have you asked for a raise? Why not? Oh, okay, so you're just gonna ghost.
So you got a plan.
How about you? Have you asked for?
Asking for a raise.
Yeah, yours is big, so.
Thanksgiving is coming, that's when you grab it.
So the point that I'm trying to drive home is it could be intimidating
Yeah.
and scary to approach your employer for a raise. At the end of the day, aside from all these programs we have, that is what a union is. We all make the same. And if you're a foreman, you'll get a little bit extra, a superintendent, you get extra, you see the figures on here. When you're working as an apprentice, your raises are built in.
That's right.
1,300 hours, came to your 4 classes, we submit that, we submit those records to the Department of Labor, you get your raise. Another 1,300, 4 classes, we submit it, another raise. It's all scheduled. You don't ever have to worry about going to your boss or, you know, excuse my language, getting screwed over or someone taking advantage of you. That's what a union is, that's what we do.
Not to mention planning, right? If you know that in 4 years' time, I'm gonna be making this amount of money this year, this amount of money this year, this amount of money this year, now you could plan how you're gonna budget for the things that you want in life. You want a car, okay, I know that I can afford it because next year I'm gonna be making X, or in 6 months I'm gonna be making Y, right? So it really helps you predict and plan appropriately for your next step, right? Because you know, it's in paper, what that financial picture looks like. That's very important because at the end of the day, all of this extra step, this a lot of effort and energy is about all of you being successful as adults. When you're financially independent, take care of yourself and build that life that you imagine. This is what we're helping to prepare you for. What's helpful about knowing is you can plan accordingly, right? And that, for me, has been very helpful. For anyone who's been a part of the organization that knows how to use this to their advantage, they've been able to say, okay, I'm buying this vehicle because I know I need this vehicle to be able to put my tools in, go to work, do this, that, and the other thing. And I have a little bit extra for the toys that I want. Because there's the have-to-haves, right? There's things that you have to have. And then there's things you want to have. We have the luxury of being able to get some of the things that we like to have because we can predict our financial future based on what we know we're going to earn, right? Now, you can have all of this stuff right in front of you and say, okay, I'm gonna leverage that to do X, Y, or Z and take advantage of it. Or you could say, like I used to do, right, before I had children and got married and everything else. I used to work from March 1st till Thanksgiving week, right? Because that's the busy season in our industry. I used to make all of my money during that time. A lot of overtime, a lot of work, go, the entire summer. Thanksgiving week, I would go to my employer and say, I need a pink slip, which means you let us. I used to take the rest of the year off, had money saved, right? I was getting my unemployment, and the entire winter, I'd go down to Florida, I have a house down there and a family and that sort of stuff. And I would go down there and spend the entire winter doing side projects for friends and people and, you know, my grandparents' friends and that sort of thing. Enjoying life-work balance, right? De-stressing, taking it easy, relaxing. I'd come back January, February, and start talking to the hundreds of contractors who I worked with before and tell them, look, I'm back in the circuit. I'm ready to work. I knew that March 1st, I was going to go to work. There's 2 reasons. This industry, this business, is billions and billions and billions of dollars, maybe $19 billion in Connecticut alone. And it's that big. You know what that means? You build a reputation for yourself as a crafts person, a good one or not so good one, based on how you perform on the job. Punctuality, showing up, being reliable, getting the job done, having a great attitude, having a great attitude, having a great attitude. And I'm going to say why I said that 3 times. When I was a foreman, somebody would come up on the job, I had maybe 10, 15, 20, 2 people working with me, and I'd see them come in, and I'd get there early, and I'm like, okay, looks happy, looks enthusiastic, wants to go to work, doesn't know everything, but really wants to learn and work hard. I'm holding on to that person. Or I get that person that leaves. Oh, I don't want to be here. This stinks. Oh, what do I got to do today? I wanted nothing to do with that.
People can tell right away.
I'm
I'm sure your teachers, when you come in for first period, they can tell in the first 5 minutes whether it's going to be a good class or not. You guys got your heads down, you're shuffling in.
But if you're enthusiastic and you want to be a part of something, I grab those people and say, come on. I don't care what they know or they didn't know, I teach them. Because they gave me energy, they made me feel good, they worked well with other people, they wanted to learn. I always went to work that way, because I loved what I did. And they would, oh great, come work with us, because it was a good time. If I'm gonna be with you 8 hours a day, I'm gonna make it fun, right? And we work together closely and we have a great time. It's a pleasure to come to work to see this guy, right? He's like part of my family.
It's not because of my good looks.
And he's good looking, but it's because we get along so well. We work together, we have the same goal, and we come with it with a great attitude and enthusiasm. That's why I wanted him here. Because again, he came up through the ranks with the superintendent and we pulled him out of the field because he had the skills to give that to you guys so you can be successful, right? And he could tell you firsthand experience because he's been there. So very important, good attitude, work hard, show up every day, and that allowed me to do all the things that I wanted to do in life. And then I had children, and then that winter vacation ended.
He just don't like the cold. Don't believe it. But,
No, I had to come back to work, right? Because I was building a family. And I could do that because I can plan, because I had expectations and I knew how much money I could make. I could budget, and there was predictability in my career path and my future because I knew what I had to work with, right? So that's another thing that you typically, it's really difficult to get that outside of this sort of structure, these sorts of opportunities, because it's kind of like throw it up in the air and see what sticks. With us, you can plan, if this is something that you want to do. And you can do that with a lot of the trades, to be honest, right? Because we have that structure. But we really think about those things beyond just the craft. We think about the people who we're engaging.
Guys, we have like 5 minutes till the bell rings.
all right, so don't let me down. Questions.
You gotta have one
What
too.
kinds of things might you be wondering about?
Yeah, talked about a lot of stuff.
It's gonna be a long, awkward, quiet 5 minutes.
All right, so let me ask you this question. With all the information that you got, how many people can see themselves in that environment, in that space?
Wait, I do have a question.
Question.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Is there design and carpentry where everyone, I don't know,
Well, you don't have to what? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
where like something would fall on my head, like is there like design or something? So I wouldn't want to have stuff like fall on me and stuff. That doesn't sound right.
No.
Yeah, so, yes, so there are different aspects. So most of our work is out on a job site. Now, what type of work are you doing? Like I was talking about, I stood on the top of Stanford Hospital and I'm looking over the edge. That was because I was there very early on in the project. But I also stayed through that job to when we were putting hospital beds in. We were installing the x-ray machines. We were putting up blinds, right? And that's more trim carpentry, finish carpentry, tenant fit up. We have that as well. So maybe you don't like being out in the cold and in the concrete where there's cranes flying around and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But if you're more comfortable in finish, then that's what you gravitate to.
But to the point you were making, and there is an opportunity for people to move out of that environment where you're in, the construction, building phase. There's blueprint reading, right? You read your blueprints, how it all goes together, I was saying in the end. And then there's estimating, right? Which you take, that's the design, you figure out the design. And then there's drafting, right? Where you're actually a part of making that. With us, you get there at the end of your career, right? What's unique about us is because you have hands-on experience and really seen it all from the ground up, that part of the job becomes so much easier for you, almost intuitive, because you know how it all fits together, and you get there. You don't start there with us, but you can get there. So yes, there's an opportunity, but you have to go through boot camp, right? You have to go through the construction industry to get there. So that's why we call it upward mobility, because it's not only financial upward mobility, but it's professional upward mobility, right? Because you get to go up through the ranks and decide what part of the industry you want to be involved in. Right? How your mind works, whether you like more, or you gravitate to. Right? So if you can get there, but later.
Any other questions?
Any other
for us?
questions? None. All right, guys, this is a flashlight, it's a key holder, and this is pretty cool, because especially when we go in and annoy people with it. Oh, so, yeah, you gotta press it in the bottom.
All right, she's in. She likes the flashlight.